morning, sir. I am Jessel Dorig, and with my partner, Rica Deondo, we are the reporter of Violence Against Women. So, violence against women and girls is one of the most systematic and widespread human rights violations. It is rooted in gendered social structures rather than individual and random acts. The United Nations defines violence against women as any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, including threats of such acts, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or in private life. So, gender based violence is any violence inflicted on women because of their sex. Child sexual abuse. So, child sexual abuse is a form of child abuse that includes sexual ability with a minor. So, child sexual abuse is a significant public health problem and an adverse childhood experience. Child sexual abuse refers to the involvement of a child in a sexual activity that violates the law. So, child sexual abuse does not need to include physical contact between a perpetrator and a child. Some forms of sexual abuse include exhibitionism or exposing oneself to a minor, fondling, intercourse, masturbation in the presence of a minor or forcing the minor to masturbate, absence of phone calls, text messages, and digital interaction, producing, owning, or sharing pornographic images or movies of children. So, what causes violence against women? So, violence against women happens because women and men are not equal. So, the unequal distribution of power and resources between women and men and adherence to rigidly defined gender rules and identities, what it means to be masculine and feminine. So there are many different factors which determine whether an individual will experience violence. However, a recent study found that gender inequality at the national level predicted higher levels of partner violence, as did settings where male authority over women's behavior is considered normal and where violence against women was widely seen to be acceptable. So next, is it possible to prevent violence against women? Yes, ultimately, the key to ending violence against women and girls is in transforming traditional gender roles and power relations, changing the attitudes and beliefs which allow violence to continue. So there are types of violence where the violence is in the home. First is domestic violence. Women are more likely to be victimized by someone that they are intimate with, commonly called intimate partner violence. So, domestic violence is violence committed by someone in the victim's domestic circle. So, this include partners and ex-partners, immediate family members, or other relatives and family friends. The term domestic violence is used when there is a close relationship between the offender and the victim. So second is psychological violence. Psychological violence is intimately related to a person's inability to tolerate another when circumstances make communication difficult. Within families or residential homes for the elderly, it is even more difficult to maintain such as a relationship because the demands on the young are often disproportionate to their capacity of satisfying such needs. Verbal aggravation is a way of reacting to such incapacitates that may be due to lack of personnel or funds or resources. Third is the economic violence. Avoidance of responsibility regarding household expenditures. Economic violence involves making or attempting to make a person financially independent by maintaining total control over financial resources, withholding to money and or forbidding attendance at school or employment. So harmful tradition practices. Traditional cultural practices reflect values and beliefs held by members of a community for periods often spanning generations, like forced marriage, child marriage, female genital cutting, honor crimes, dowry, female infanticide, trafficking of women. So type of violence that the violence is by the state. So first is conflict situation, the systematic use of rape and other forms of sexual violence have been recognized to be weapons of war against women. So women living in conflict situations are sexual subject violence by armed groups, security forces, and even peacekeeping troops. So next is labor camps. So many women underwent extrajudicial punishment in labor camps of Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. So this suffering was described in memories of former Gulag women prisoners Yevgenia Genbor, Eufrosenia Kenovskaya, and others. So next is war and militarism. Militarism produces special environments that allow for increased violence against women. Next is the violence and empowerment system. So women's shelter workers are often reduced themselves to contributing to violence against women by exploiting their vulnerability in exchange for paying job. So next, the sexuality harassment in family. So sexual harassment is a type of discrimination based on sex. When someone is sexually harassed where they live, it can make them feel vulnerable. They may be fear for their own safety and of their family. So under the Ontario Human Rights Code, sexual harassment is engaging in a course of big such as comment or conduct that is known or ought to be known to be unwelcome. So now, the reality is sexual harassment of children, sexual abuse of children are done at home by their own relatives and family members too. So when it comes to sexual abuse, our children are not automatically as safe as we should like them to be. So the children are being harassed in family by their own family members, and the women being sexually harassed by their own husband sometimes. So sexually harassing is a child is known as child abuse, which is punishable by law. So law itself provides special provision for the women who are being sexually harassed by their husband or in the other way discussed above. So what you can do if you are so we should pray to God work in our children's lives and for his wisdom to face trouble if it comes. So first is teach sex holistically. So engage your teens in ongoing dialogue about sex, giving them freedom to ask questions. They need to understand that maintaining sexual integrity is not just mere abstinence from physical sexual behavior. It is an issue of the heart, as Jackson says. So, second, keep communication open. Spend time with them so they know you are available if their trouble comes. So, talk to kids, even younger than adolescents, about the power of secrets. That also says Jackson's. So, third is be present. Welcome your child's friend into your home. Talk with them. If your teen has a job, visit her at work and meet her supervisors. Um, intently, pay close attention to changes in your teen's disposition or complaints about school or works. It is a sign if you see the thin beginning to isolate, perhaps even seeming purple. So next is set digital guidelines. Help your family control its technology usage. Discuss dangers, including the performance of the digital domain and the consequences of sexting. So, if harassment happens, first is do not laugh along. A harasser often starts small, perhaps with an innuendo or dirty joke. Zero tolerance can help avoid escalation. Second, know the law. Every school and workplace is required to have a policy on sexual harassment, defining what it is and outlining the organization process for dealing with it. Third is the document. Make a handwritten record or day of dates and specific occurrences. And the fourth is report the problem. Seek help for the school system, place of business, or church leadership. And the fifth is be persistent. If your complaints are met with indifference, go to a higher level, such as the school district, state department of education, or corporate leadership. And the sixth is get legal help. If necessary, an attorney specializing in sexual harassment can provide valuable assistance, even if you have never heard about it before. And the fourth rather, is that contacting legal authorities. It is important not to take harassment from a neighbor lightly. If they have gone to some trouble to harass you with police presence, your life can easily be disrupted. So next is the reproductive right and sexual rights. So the human development approach has long emphasized the importance of good health as a constitutive element that is both of intrinsic and instrumental value for an individual's ability to thrive. Today, on the UN's World Population Day, as global attention turns to the issue of family planning, it is important to underline the importance of safe and voluntary family planning services, not only for individual health and well being, for women's empowerment, and for prosperous communities and nations. So, family planning has well documented health benefits for mothers, newborns, families, and communities. Pregnancies that occur too early or too late in woman's life, or that are spaced too closely, harm maternal health and increase the risk of prematurity and low birth weight. So, the ability to delay and space childbearing is also crucial to women's social and economic advancement. Women's ability to obtain and effectively use contraceptives has a positive impact on their education and workforce participation, as well as on the subsequent outcomes related to income, family stability, mental health, and happiness, and children's well being. So, what are a minor's reproductive rights? While women, including those under 18, are entitled to make reproductive decisions concerning their reproductive health, including abortion, state laws such as parental notification and consent requirements have restricted their reproductive rights and placed burdens on abortion access. Abortion. What is pro-life versus pro-choice? Abortion is the single most controversial reproductive right issue in the United States. The issue turns on whether a woman should have the right to terminate a pregnancy that would amount to a living human being if remained untouched. So, on the other hand, the pro-choice advocates argue that abortion falls within a person's constitutional right to privacy, believing the choice to terminate an unborn fetus lies with the individual and her doctor. And on the other hand, pro life advocates argue that a fetus is a living being at the moment of conception and argues abortion should be criminalized to protect the life of the unborn fetus.